You can remember your 10th birthday, your first day of school, the face of a friend you haven't seen in 20 years. But try to remember being 1 year old. Try to remember learning to walk, learning to speak your first word. Try to remember your mother's face the very first time you saw it. Nothing. A wall. A blank space where the most important years of your life should be. Here's the strange part. You were not asleep for those years. You were awake, alert, learning faster than you ever will again. You were absorbing an entire language from nothing. You were mapping every face, every smell, every danger in your world. And yet almost none of it survived. Why can't you remember being a baby? The answer is not what you think. Your earliest memories are not gone. They were never deleted. They are locked inside you right now, and neuroscientists have finally started to find the key. And what they found rewrites what it means to be you. Let's start with the mystery itself. Ask any adult to recall their life, and the memories almost always stop around the age of 3 or 4. Before that, there's fog. A few blurry fragments, maybe. A flash of a room, a color, a feeling. But no real story. No connected thread of you moving through the world. This is so universal that it has a name. Infantile amnesia. Childhood amnesia. The term goes back more than 100 years to Sigmund Freud, who noticed it in 1899 and was baffled that human beings routinely lose the first years of their own existence. For most of the last century, the explanation seemed obvious. Babies must simply not form memories. The brain is too undeveloped. There is nothing to remember because nothing was ever recorded. That explanation was comforting. It was simple, and in 2025 it was proven wrong. At Yale, a team of neuroscientists led by Nick Turk-Browne did something almost no one had managed before. They put awake infants, some under a year old, inside an fMRI scanner and watched their brains in real time. They showed the babies images of faces, objects, scenes die to on. Then later, they showed them again. And deep in each baby's brain, a region called the hippocampus lit up. It was encoding. It was recording. The infants who showed the strongest activity in that moment were the ones who later recognized the image. Let that sink in. The babies were forming memories. The recording light was on the whole time. So if the memories are being made, where do they go? This is where it gets strange. Because the Yale finding points to something we did not expect. Your earliest memories may not be a recording failure at all. They may be a retrieval failure. The memories were written. You just lost the ability to play them back. Imagine a library where the books are all still on the shelves, but someone burned the catalog. The knowledge is there. You simply have no way to find it. To understand why, you have to understand what your brain was doing in those years. And it was doing something violent. The infant hippocampus, the very part that files your memories, is not finished. It is one of the last regions of the brain to fully mature. In your first years, it is a construction site. New neurons are being born at a staggering rate, packed in, wired up, day after day. That explosive growth is what makes you learn so fast as a baby. But it comes at a cost. Researchers studying this process, including Paul Franklin and Sheena Jocelyn, found something haunting in the lab. When new neurons flood into the hippocampus, they don't just add capacity. They rewire the existing circuits. They can overwrite what was already stored. Think about what that means. The same growth that let you learn to crawl, to grasp, to recognize your mother, was constantly paving over the memories you had just made. Your brain was so busy building itself that it kept demolishing its own records to make room. Your first memories weren't lost by accident. They were sacrificed. The price of a brain growing fast enough to master the world in 3 years. But the story doesn't end there. Because there's a second reason those years are sealed off, and it goes to the heart of who you are. Ask yourself, what is a memory really made of? Not a photograph. A story. A memory of your 10th birthday is a little narrative. This happened, then that, and I was there, and I felt this. To store a life, you need a main character. You need a self. And here's the thing. As a newborn, you did not have one. Not yet. The sense of being a distinct person moving through time, the thing psychologists call the autobiographical self, does not arrive with birth. It is built. It emerges slowly, usually between the ages of 2 and 4, and it is welded tightly to one specific tool. Language. Watch it happen, and it's almost eerie. Around the same age, children start to say I, me, mine, to tell little stories, to put yesterday and tomorrow into words, is exactly the age their memories start to stick. The fog begins to lift the moment language gives them a way to tell the story of themselves. Now think about what that means for everything that came before. Your first year was pre-verbal. You had no words. You experienced the world as raw sensation, pure feeling, with no language to pin it down. And when language finally arrived, it didn't just add a skill. It reorganized your entire mind. It rebuilt the machinery of thought around words. The memories from before that rebuild were written in a language your adult brain no longer speaks. They were stored by a self that did not yet exist, in a mind with no words. So you cannot narrate them. You cannot pull them up as a story, because when they were made, there was no storyteller inside you. The person who lived your first years, in a very real sense, was someone else. Someone with no name for anything. And you have been locked out of their experience ever since. Sit with how strange that is. The years that shaped you the most are the years you can never reach. In your first 3 years, you learned to walk. You learned to understand language, one of the most complex things a human brain ever does. You formed your very first bond with another human being. The attachment that will quietly shape how you love for the rest of your life. Everything that made you, was installed in those years. Your deepest fears. Your sense of whether the world is safe. The way you reach for people, or pull away. All of it laid down in the one chapter of your life you cannot open. You are the sum of a story you're not allowed to read. And this is where it stops being a curiosity and starts being personal. Because those locked memories are not truly silent. You can't recall them, but you carry them. Have you ever felt a wave of comfort at a smell you can't place? The particular warmth of a certain kind of light in a room? An unease around something that never actually hurt you? A sense of home that no single memory explains? That is the ghost of infantile memory. Neuroscientists call it implicit memory. The explicit story is gone, but the emotional imprint, the deep, wordless learning about what is safe and what is love and what is danger, stayed behind. It didn't get filed as a narrative. It got wired straight into who you are. Your body still remembers what your mind cannot. When a certain song makes you feel safe, and you don't know why. When you flinch at something harmless. When you feel, against all logic, that a stranger reminds you of home. You are feeling the pull of memories you made before you had words. They are still running. They never stopped. So the answer to the mystery is not that your early life was erased. It's stranger and somehow gentler than that. Your earliest memories aren't gone. They're locked. Written by a self that had no words, in a brain that was tearing itself down and rebuilding faster than at any other moment of your life. The Yale scans prove the recordings were made. The catalog was simply lost in the construction. And maybe that's the humbling part. We think of ourselves as the sum of what we can remember. Our stories, our highlight reel, the moments we can call up and tell. But underneath all of that sits a foundation you will never consciously visit. A whole hidden person, the first version of you who did the hardest work of all, and left no note behind. So the next time you meet a baby staring up at the world, wide-eyed and silent, understand what you're really looking at. Not an empty mind waiting to be filled. A mind recording everything, at full speed, in a language it will soon forget it ever spoke. You were that baby once, learning your mother's face, learning to stand, Learning, before you had a single word for it, what love was supposed to feel like. You can't remember any of it. But it remembers you.